Hello and welcome to another Tech Campus Coffee Live webinar. This is an opportunity for you to learn about career paths at Tech directly from professionals in your field.
We'll be speaking to technical representatives from a variety of fields at Tech, and they'll share why they enjoy what they do.
Participants also have a chance to directly ask speakers and recruiters questions and get a good understanding of why Tech is a great place to work, as well as where your strengths, talents, and learning opportunities lie.
Our special guest today that can speak a little bit about their experience. So we'll start with Emily. Emily, if you want to jump in and maybe give an introduction of yourself, a little bit about your role, and then we'll move over to some questions.
Yeah, for sure. So as you know, my name is Emily. I graduated about 3 years ago now from Dalhousie in the chemical engineering program there. And I've been back at Tech Trail Operations for the past, I guess, coming into my second year now. I had previously done a co-op here as well, so kind of had some experience before coming on full time. We kind of, once you start back with Tech or enter into the program as a new grad, you go through, I would say, what we call an EIT program. It's 4 years. Essentially, kind of the main purpose is to rotate you around the plant. Just to give you guys, I guess, a bit of idea, kind of here at Trail Operations, we're not necessarily mining, but a smelter and a refinery. So we process material that comes from the mines. It's very, I would say, chemically and processly involved. We have a very large variety of processes that happen at Tech Trail. Probably anywhere from 10 to 12 different plants within the operation, all very different in the processing that they do. We have kind of roasting, leaching, pressure leaching. The other side, there's a lot of electroplating and winning, just a variety of, I would say, processes to get exposure to. For me, I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons I wanted to come back to Trail, was to get that variety within, I'm still working for the same company, but have a huge exposure to a lot of processes, which is something that I think is very unique to Trail, and that you're probably not going to get at a lot of other places. So that's been really cool for me. Kind of to dive in a little bit, my first rotation, I worked in what I'll call a support group, more about development, innovation, kind of trying new things with the plants. So I worked with metallurgical modeling to develop predictive models for future concentrates we could treat. I was very surprised to learn how much of my schooling I used. A lot of leaching kinetics, thermodynamics, things that I often hear, people don't really use those courses after. Kind of very intensive in processing and chemical reactions there. So that was cool. And then I just started my second rotation, kind of moved to one of the plants where we do, in my plant specifically, pressure leaching, flotation circuit, and kind of a belt filter operation. So I've been getting to work just day to day with the ops, troubleshooting in the plant, coming up with, new trials, new tests, and how to improve the plant kind of from a technical point of view. So both my rotations have been super exciting so far and very different in what I've been exposed to. And yeah, this will just kind of continue for the next 2 years. I'll get to see 2 other totally different plants, and yeah, take a role there. So that's kind of been my experience at Trail Operations. I guess in its simplest terms, a lot of variety and a lot of opportunity here in terms of what you're exposed to.
Awesome, Emily. That's great. Thanks for the explanation. And that's some really interesting stuff that you got the chance to do. I know I've always heard so many really cool things about the Trail Operations, and I'm anxious to get a tour there when this COVID business is over.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very interesting place.
Yeah, I bet. That's great. And then we've got Jesse Watson on the line as well. So I know we have an intro slide for Jesse. Yeah, so Jesse joins us from the coal business unit. So Jesse, if you want to talk a little bit about your role, give us an introduction. Yeah, what brought you here?
For sure, yeah. So my name's Jesse. I work at Elkview at one of Tech's metallurgical coal operations. I started here about 3 years ago. I actually also graduated from Dalhousie. I worked a couple of years in oil and gas before I came to Tech. But yeah, so I've been here for about 3 years. My first about year and a half, I was on a 4 days on and a 4 days off rotation. So personally, I really, really loved that schedule. I found that on my 4 days off, I had a day to be a lazy bum, 2 days to do fun things, and a day to be an adult and clean and pay the bills and all that good stuff. So I really enjoyed that schedule. I know it's not for everybody, but yeah, so that kind of first stint was very much operations based. So around, trying to make our plant more efficient day to day. So what can we do from a technical perspective? How can we make our unit operations run more efficiently? That sort of thing. So, you work with trades and operators all the time. If you can't create a good relationship with those people, you're probably going to have a hard time. So definitely important to be able to do that. And then at the start of last year, I moved into a more still based at the plant and still process related, but a more kind of longer term betterments and projects perspective. So for the last about year and a half, my major project has been improving our magnetite recovery, which is basically a product that we use to separate, change the cut point of the density of where we separate our material. A lot of our unit operations are not super complicated, like they're at Trail for Emily. Most of our operations are strictly based around size and density. Flotation is really the only kind of complicated thing we have. But obviously we run into other challenges with, how do we operate those things correctly, wear life, all of that sort of thing. So that's been really interesting as well. I'm now moving into a new project where raw coal has kind of been identified as one of our main bottlenecks. So I'm working with a bit different group up at kind of more the top end of the process, more to do with raw coal and the mining group, and trying to limit those bottlenecks so that we're able to run the tonnage through the plant that we want to run and keep up with our kind of record-breaking years that we have had in the last couple of years. So one thing's for sure, working in a coal operation, you're going to be hands-on with operators, with tradespeople. You're going to get to do a lot of diverse kinds of projects and a lot of day-to-day operation stuff. So I know for me, I really enjoy the day-to-day stuff because you can see the difference that you made from the start of the day to the end of the day every single day. And if you're somebody that likes to stay squeaky clean, it's probably not the place for you. I'm actually pretty clean today. So yeah, if you're somebody that likes to get your hands dirty and likes to work with a bunch of different varieties of people, it's definitely a great work environment for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, Jesse, you're keeping it real over there. It just comes straight out of the plant. I love it. Great. Well, thanks. That's some really interesting info, and I think gives people a really great idea on what it's like to work in your particular areas. And again, I know Masaki's typed it in the chat, but if anyone, if anyone has any questions along the way, feel free to jump in there. I know we've got some former students here. Another Dalhousie. I don't know what it is about. Apparently, we're really attached to Dalhousie students for process engineering. But yeah, feel free to type in the chat, or like Masaki had said earlier, please raise your hand. We want to keep this as interactive as possible. And obviously, the main goal of this whole conversation today is to really make sure we answer your questions so that you guys get the answers that you want from the things that you want to know about tech and where you want to go work, that sort of thing. The first question here is for co-op applications. What are you looking for from students with no previous co-op experience? So maybe I'll just transition. I can speak to that a little bit, but even I'll toss it over to you guys. And maybe Jesse, I'll start with you. I know you've had quite a few students since you've been there, but can you talk to us a little bit like what makes a co-op successful in the job? I guess let's start with that, and then I can talk a little bit about the application side.
I think a lot of for our team particularly is fit. It's you have to be, I mean, we talked a lot about that your hands get dirty and you have to be willing to work with operators and that sort of thing. So if that's not something that person is used to, either they have to learn to do it or they're probably not going to be as successful. So people that are willing to jump in, get their hands dirty, it's a steep learning curve for sure. So people that are kind of willing to do that and put themselves out there that way are great. it's the kind of place where you don't necessarily get like super structured learning. It's very much learn on the job, learn to do by doing, that sort of thing. So, people that are willing to just go walk around the plant and follow pipes to learn the process and that sort of thing are generally tend to do well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then
And
Emily,
then
I guess, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jessie.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. So, and then obviously with the increase in technology that we're seeing in our plants means that, data analytics and that sort of stuff is becoming a larger and larger thing. So I know for myself, just kind of the era of when I came out of school, that's certainly not my expertise. So I definitely lean on my co-ops pretty heavily with a lot of that, because it seems like you guys are learning a lot more about that in school now than I certainly did. So, a lot of get your hands dirty and a lot of data crunching would be kind of the biggest thing I would say.
Awesome. Yeah, I've definitely seen, and I say this on a couple of the calls that we've had, that I'm seeing the co-op requirements sort of evolve a little bit over the years, and a lot more of like, hey, if you had some skills in the technical space or you had some programming and that sort of thing, it's a huge asset to the team, because like you say, some of us who've been here a while might not have that skill set, but if we can get some people who have some fresh skills in those areas, it certainly helps with some of the number crunching and that reporting and that sort of thing. And then Emily, I wanted for you to chime in here. Obviously, you're a former co-op and you've worked your way into a full-time job. What did you do that made you successful? What made you stand out to secure that position?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, I think Jessie touched on it a bit. I would kind of chalk it up to a willingness to learn, just being open to the process. When I came to tech trial operations, I really didn't know what we did here, or have major exposure to a lot of these processes. But if you're willing to be involved with operators, with trades, to go out there, get your hands dirty and learn the process, and yeah, just kind of be a team player. I think it's, if you have that open mindset, you'll go far. I know my first project here around modeling, if someone were to tell me before I started the job that this is what I was going to be doing, I would have probably walked away. But just that open mindset, working with a team of people, we had great results out of this project in the end. And so I think just a willingness to learn would be the biggest thing.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And that's a great segue into the next question that I want to touch on here. It's what kind of technical skills or knowledge would you be considered an asset for a process engineering co-op or an EIT? They mentioned something about good relationships with tradespeople and operators. What soft skills do you learn? So maybe we'll start with the technical side, because I think you've both highlighted like that data analytics, the modeling side of things. I guess any advice on experience that students should be trying to get while they're in school, or any courses they should be taking? Do you guys have any insights there? And maybe Emily, since you just chatted about it, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, sure. I think in terms of the technical side of things, I don't know that there's necessarily like a specific course or a specific, like if you take this course, this is going to be a perfect match. I do think that, the data side of things has become more relevant, how we make data-driven decisions. And, I think race as well has kind of captured that a little bit in moving forward. I would say, I know for me, I was looking, I had a bit of a gap time in between when I graduated and getting hired back on. And one of the things that I tried to do was take some data courses, Six Sigma, some other things to get more hands-on there. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Jessie, do you want to chime in on that one too?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with Emily that having that kind of database knowledge is really important. Like, I know I didn't put a lot of weight in my stats courses that I took at school, and now I wish I would have, paid more attention and done better in those courses so that I could apply them more. So definitely pay attention in your stats courses, and if you have more opportunities to take courses like that, do for sure. The other thing that I would say is often beneficial, like for example, if you are going to be taking a year off or something like that, not necessarily a course, but getting some experience as, an operator or in construction, or, getting a trade or something like that is really beneficial, because it helps you better understand those things that you're not going to learn in engineering school. and it helps you better interact with those kinds of people that you need to have a good relationship with. So like I know my counterpart, she has a trade in she's an instrumentation tech. We have a few other engineers that have trades. All of our, like, part of our development is that basically before you can be promoted to a senior engineer, you have to do a stint supervising either an operations or a maintenance crew for 6 years or 6 months to a year. So having that kind of experience and know-how makes that transition a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. And you've covered a couple of other questions that people had asked in there, Jesse. So thanks for doing that. Great. All right. Something that you guys have both mentioned, I thought it was really neat. Just some of the projects that you've been working on that really are adding, like really providing, I guess, improvement, continuous improvement projects, that sort of thing. So I guess, can you speak to a little bit like something that's been something that you're really proud of, or something that's been your sort of feather in your hat, if you will, for lack of a better explanation. Is there something in particular that you really take a lot of pride in, or a project that you're working on that's really exciting for one? If you want to pick something out, it's like picking a favorite child, I'm sure, but maybe I'll start with you, Emily.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'll just kind of go with the example that I'm working on right now. We recently installed, I would say, a new belt filter in one of our plants, and I've been having some kind of major issues with this brand new piece of equipment for a couple months. And so we've been had all hands on deck as a big team to troubleshoot this thing. My portion has been mostly responsible for, people come up with ideas and theories in the plant about what could be wrong. And I work with our kind of developmental technicians to create laboratory test work. We create test plans and trials. We get them to sketch it out in the lab, run some tests. We get results back and then try and implement things into the plant to make changes and improvements. So that's something that's been kind of a cool experience for me to troubleshoot kind of this piece of equipment and all that goes into that.
That's awesome. Great. How about for you, Jesse? What's your favorite child?
I don't know if it's my favorite, because there was definitely some difficult days, but I'd say certainly my biggest accomplishment has been over about the last year and a half. I've been working really heavily on, like I mentioned, this project to reduce magnetite. So it's kind of a twofold problem. So magnetite is really expensive. It's about $500 a ton. So usually it's more expensive than coal. And then it's something in our process that typically gets washed off and then recycled. If it doesn't get washed off, it ends up in the product, which then has pretty significant impacts on the quality of the product. So in December of 2020, we were using about 3 kilograms a ton. 1 kilogram a ton is kind of considered world-class or industry standard. We were using about 3 kilograms a ton. We saw that increase after we made an expansion in our plant that saw our throughput increase. But between December 2020, where we were using 3 kilograms a ton, and December 2021, we saw an 80% decrease with all the stuff that we managed to accomplish in the plant. So it was a lot of different things, a lot of different, operating differently, putting in some new equipment, changing operating settings, changing things like screen aperture sizes and that kind of thing. So it was a really big coordinated effort from a lot of different departments, and getting things through planning and through maintenance and installed and that sort of thing. So yeah, we're on track for 2022 to save about $4.2 million compared to 2021. So that's definitely been an exciting project to be involved with. And when you can attach numbers like that to a project, it definitely puts things in perspective. I know at the end of the year, I was kind of doing, I don't feel like I achieved that much, until I went back and put the numbers to it. So yeah, that's definitely been the biggest thing I've been involved in recently.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks. And then something I want to highlight before, I know there's a couple more questions here, but we have a lot of students, like I mentioned, and And we also have students in various areas. So obviously at our trail operations, we hire students. At our coal operations in the processing plant, we hire students, but we also hire them in our water group as well. So I've actually got 2 students here today that work within our water quality group with the coal business unit. And Jazuli, maybe I'll start with you. If you could maybe talk a little bit about your experience, because I think we can all say what we think co-ops are doing, but I think it's really neat to hear from the co-ops themselves. So Jazuli, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience at Tech so far?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm Jazuli and student of the University of Calgary. I've been with Tech for say 5 months now with the Water Quality Management Group. I'm currently working at Orgview at the SRF. And for you to know, SRF is one of the modern technologies used in treating water. And so with my journey, I would say the first week, I went through intensive training. Safety is very key over here, so you have to pay very particular attention to safety. And within the first month, I was working with my supervisor and gave me performance reports to read. So yeah, as Emily spoke about, you have to have the willingness to learn new things, because over here everyone is willing to assist you and shouldn't be shy when asking questions. So the first month I worked with their PNID, had to go through the PNIDs and familiarize myself with the operations over there. Did some redlining as well. And also currently I'm working on their material balance on sulfide. I'm working on the recycle tanks over there, working on some material balance calculations. So yeah, you need to be very good in your calculations as well, and take your material balance courses very seriously. And also currently doing some modeling work with their CTD profiling. So yeah, you need to have some Excel experience as well. So with the soft skills, I would say you need to be someone who is a problem solver and willing to learn, and someone who is also good at communication. You shouldn't be shy with questions, because the technicians and operators here are very interested in teaching you new things and always answering your questions. And I would say with the life in the Org Valley over here is really amazing. You have numerous outdoor activities to undergo and partake in, such as skiing, snowboarding, and the work-life balance over here is really amazing. You have like 3 days off in your second week. That's the shift I'm currently on. So you have time to spend with your family, your friends, and also go on some outdoor activities and hang out with lots of people as well. And the co-op experience, where you have a very large co-op team over here, I think over 150 hires in a year. So yeah, you get time to meet new people.
EECK, उनका geologist ये सब से jobs उनके पास बहुत. EECK. Yes, I see.
So yeah, you get time to spend with lots of people and learn things from them and create good network over here as well. So I'll say it's really amazing living here in the Org Valley and working with Tech.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. That's awesome to get your perspective. And now, Sam, I know if you could give us a quick overview. I know you're working in the same group, but what have been big highlights for you as a co-op?
Yeah, thanks. Just like Jazuli, I'm working with the water quality group here at Water River. And I think you're asking about my highlights. So I think the first thing that really stood out for me was like the values here at Tech. Like everything that's being advertised on the website is really actually apparent here, both in like on the offices and on site. Also, I just find the process really interesting. I could talk about the process for like an entire day, but essentially it's a microbial process that removes nitrate and selenium using biomass that grows in the pit, basically. And yeah, so far it's been really interesting. And I recently got a project which is to like design a packed column counter current flow to remove sulfide from the water treatment plants. And yeah, that happens because like sometimes when the biomass grows, they start reducing sulfide, and that produces hydrogen sulfide, which is quite toxic and a process concern. So yeah, that's a new project I just got, and I've been really excited about that. And like other than work, I think living here is also really exciting because I started skiing last year in Vancouver. Oh, I know I didn't introduce myself. So I'm from UBC, by the way. So I've been living in Vancouver for the past 4 years. So I started skiing last year in Vancouver, And ever since I moved here, I got a season pass to one of the ski hills here in Elkford, and I've been skiing like at least like 5 times every week. So it's been really good. Yeah. Otherwise, I think it's a like overall like it's a great company. Like it's not just clout or just promotion, but I think experiencing it firsthand, it's been really nice seeing how things work in the industry and how interesting what I've actually studied in class could be applied in the real world. But that's a quick overview because I actually just started like about 1 month ago, so I haven't really got that much experience. But like so far, it's been quite fulfilling, I would say.
Awesome. Thanks to both of you guys for sharing. That's great. I'm gonna look to see if I've missed any questions here. There's a couple of recruitment specific ones. So what we'll probably do is we can go to the trivia and do all that part, and then I can circle back on the recruitment specific ones towards the end just to make sure that we monopolize all the time that we have with Jesse and Emily as well, make sure they're answering all the technical questions that people would have. So when someone's asked, oh, sorry, yeah, please go ahead.
Indrajit's had a hand up for a bit.
Yes.
You want to?
Sorry, I need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Indrajit. You can unmute your mic and ask your question. Thanks for your patience.
Good afternoon. You hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay. So I have a question regarding the process engineering in training. The opening which tech resources have come time to time. But last in November somewhere I applied for process engineering training for Drell location. Unfortunately, there is no any update on it. And on candidate career portal, we don't have any way that we can see what's the status of our application. So it's like the position is still open or it's a failed one. And yesterday they also opened one process EIT for Ilkford location as well. So want to know more about the position.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe I'll speak to this, Emily, a little bit because I'm not sure how involved you are on the recruitment side, but yeah, I guess I can. A couple of warnings I said, and still with that, we get a lot of applications. I guess I will say that, and not to discourage anyone by any stretch, but I guess I'll ask for patience through the process as we work through it. We do go through all the applications and create shortlists. So I suspect the one in November has been filled, and unfortunately, sorry if you haven't gotten a response from it. Sometimes we will keep those applications on file for future opportunities too. But that being said, I would keep applying for ones that do continue to come up. We've been really, really busy on the recruitment front, as a lot of companies I think are in the same boat as we are. We're doing lots of growth. The price of coal and tech is doing very well. The price of coal is huge right now, so we're doing a lot of recruitment, and then we've got a lot of projects and different things happening right now. So I guess what I would say is be patient with the process, keep applying. What you can do if you're looking for a new graduate position, Indrajit, is keep an eye on the website, set yourself up for job alerts as well, so that when a position comes up that's asking for chemical or process engineering, you'll be pinged, and so then you'll be aware of when the position comes up, and that'll help you sort through the mass recruitment that's happening right now. So yeah, lots of, but the nice thing is we're seeing lots of really great new grad opportunities trickling through, and I guess to give you some insight on that, we have our new grad recruitment, and I'm sure Emily can speak to this too, is that it's kind of ongoing as needed. So we don't have like a set time of year that we hire new grads. It's kind of as a position opens up. So we shuffle someone into a more senior role or into a different area, and then it frees up an EIT position, and then we go out and start recruiting. So it can happen at any given time. So I'd say keep applying, keep looking, and those positions will certainly come to you. And like you say, hopefully we'll close the loop with you once the position is closed and finished. But yeah, be patient with the process. Sometimes it takes some time to get through. And those November ones are tough because it falls into the holidays and it gets a little wild and crazy trying to wrap everything up before then. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Absolutely.
Stacey, do you mind if I just jump in a bit on this topic? So I had a fairly similar experience that I applied and wasn't getting anywhere. And it wasn't until, I mean, obviously this will be a bit different now with COVID. Stacey be able to speak more to if we're doing many in-person kind of recruiting events. But I found out about a recruiting event that was happening in Lethbridge. I was working in Calgary at the time, and I took a sick day and drove down to Lethbridge, and it was primarily a recruiting event for truck drivers and tradespeople. So I was the lone engineer there, and I waited in line to talk to somebody in person and shoved my resume in their hand and shook their hand and talked their ear off about, what I wanted to do and what I was good at. Honestly, as somebody trying to get on in a work environment where, there's hundreds, thousands of online applications, there is nothing better than getting in front of someone face to face and just having a chat. You will be surprised how quickly you get a call back. It was like 2 weeks after that I got a call back about a job that I had applied for. So if you have any ability to do that, I strongly encourage that. And obviously with COVID, you're not as in person with people, but maybe Stacy and Sky are going to hate me for this, but everyone's tech emails are their first name, period, last name.
Yeah,
I tried that one view, but the thing is, like, most of offices, they all are work from home right now. And yeah, on tech resources, I did like 21 applications, but unfortunately not any response back. Competition is like the huge over there. But my question is, like, is there any way I can track my applications? That what's the status of it? That's really I'm curious about.
feel free to reach out to me, and I can look into the system and follow up with you. If you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or like Jesse had said, you can figure out my email pretty quick. So feel free to reach out to me, and then I'll take a look into it to make sure that you get a response and we know where you're at. How about that?
I think I already tried on LinkedIn and on email.
Yeah, I think so too. I was like, I recognize that name. That's awesome. Yeah, feel free to do that. Just send me a little note to remind me, okay? Yeah, no, thanks for joining today. What we'll do, how about without further ado, we should probably jump to the trivia, and then we can come back and just deal with any other questions that might be. Thanks for your patience. I know there's a couple people with their hands up and some questions in the chat.
Yeah, and just to add that, while we transition to trivia, I thought I mentioned, like, we are setting records for hiring this year. We've already hired hundreds of people, and we anticipate we'll hire hundreds more for the rest of the year. And that's not just co-op; we're talking full time. So just a matter of time for people.
Great. Okay. Well, I want to maybe just, if we've got a few more minutes, so how about we go to Michaela? I know you've got your hand up. If you wanted to turn your mic on and ask your question.
Hi, yeah, my name's Michaela. I'm in my third year of chemical engineering at Queen's University, and I applied to the process engineering as well as an environmental co-op at Tech. I just had a question for the co-op students. I was wondering what your work balance looks like between working in the office or a plant or doing field work, just sort of in your day-to-day or week-to-week schedule.
Jazuli, you want to start and answer that one? I know you've been here for a little bit longer.
Yeah, sure. For me, I say I mostly work on the field. I'm always on site. Yeah.
It's about 80% of your time, say, in the field.
Yeah.
Sorry? Yeah. Okay.
I can kind of I just joined, but like I've met a few other co-op students. I know some environmental engineering students work at Mountain View, which is like the office. And sometimes they just like rotate around different sites. Like last week, there was one of the environmental co-op students here at Fordham River, and I think they also kind of like work from home sometimes. So it's a mix. For Jazuli and I, like, we're pretty much on site every day, because like we just have to like see what's happening there, or like it's just like you just have to be on site. You're there for like working and also to like office support if needed. But I think it's a mix, and it depends on what your role entails exactly. So that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you. And just as a follow-up question, so you mentioned sort of some people are working from home. Is Tech currently operating remotely for like office work, or how does that work at the moment?
I can speak to that. So yeah, we have. We're right now working from home in the office setting, but then there's still lots of people at operations. What we've done through COVID, when numbers have peaked, we've just reduced numbers at the operations where possible. So if someone's not required to be at operations every day or as a part of that day-to-day work, then we've just ask them to work remotely, or as much as possible work remotely, and then come in when needed, kind of thing. But if you're at the site and you're at the operations, like for Jesse's team, say for example, and Emily's team, they've been there throughout just because they're so essential to the day-to-day. And so the same with the co-op students, if they're working on something day-to-day at the operations, then they would be there. So yeah, we are transitioning now again from the office perspective back to the office from remote again. So we did about a month or so in November, and then we all went home again once the numbers picked up, and now we're hoping to transition again by mid-March. So by the May co-op term and moving forward, hopefully, if all goes well, we'll be back in the offices and sort of business as usual at the operations, if assuming, with obviously precautions in terms of spacing and masking and those sorts of things.
So for example, I've only worked from home 4 days in total in the entire pandemic.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been a really informative presentation.
Thanks, Michaela. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the questions. All right, Misaki, I'll lean on you a little bit too to make sure I'm not missing any questions. I know there's a couple of recruiting ones that we wanted to circle back to as well. I think a few people had some specific questions about their application, which is hard to speak to right now, but I think in terms of the general information we've passed along, that should hopefully help people. Specific skills, we sort of spoke to that. Somebody's asked how long the recruitment process is after making an application. It depends. If it's full-time application, it can be lengthy at times. I would say give yourself 4 to 6 weeks to go through from application by the time you get to the completion of the role, and then going through the sorting, working through interviews, that sort of thing. Likely it would take at least that long. But then for co-op too, same thing. It's like the postings will go for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks usually, and then it usually takes us a month up to 2 months of recruiting time to fill, depending on the volume. And I know this term we're looking at like 76 co-ops to join the coal business unit. I know there's another handful at Trail, probably I think 6 or 7 at Trail, and a few at Highland Valley Copper as well. So it does take us a while to get through all the all the interviews for sure. Anything I'm missing? Sorry, Misaki, did you see anything there that
Did we cover Samrin's question about the water treatment process, anaerobic versus aerobic, or anaerobic aerobic digestion?
I don't think we did. Jazuli, do you feel comfortable speaking to that one about the water treatment facility, the process that includes?
Okay. With the process, we use an anaerobic. Looking for the question.
Oh, sorry. It's Samreen has asked it. For the water treatment facility, does the process include anaerobic or aerobic digestion as an intermediate operation? And what are some of the challenges in the process?
Oh, okay. So with the process, we are using anaerobic, and say the main issue we're facing is with our nickel treatment. So we're currently doing some research works on it, and doing some pilot works on it as well. So I'll say, yeah, anaerobic, and our main issue is with the nickel treatment. Yeah.
Awesome.
I could also speak to some other issues, because I've been doing lots of research about this. I think another issue I could talk about is like sulfide. As you know that, Jazuli. So like we're starting to like get sulfide, or I mean in Elkview, you guys are getting sulfide, and that's a process issue, also an environmental issue as well. This hasn't happened yet, but I think there's a chance we'll probably get some nitrous oxide, which is a greenhouse gas, and we kind of like been on our toes, like learning how to like track that and like fight that when that happens. But yeah, those are 2 other things I could speak on, like, when it comes to like process concerns. But yeah, you'd rather speak to my supervisor if you want to like hear a 1-hour lecture about about the process.
Yeah,
sure.
So...
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was great to know. I'm just doing my research on anaerobic digestion, so I was really interested in understanding what's going on. I actually do simulation, so it's rather helpful, to work on a simulation and then check what happens to the process.
Awesome. Thanks for the question. That's great. Yeah, it's such a new process, and especially like the saturated rock field, the SRF, and what we're doing there. It's really innovative and groundbreaking, and it's pretty exciting stuff that we get to work on. Yeah. Any other questions that I'm missing, Misaki?
I think we're good. I tried to respond to one in the chat, but I think
Okay.
we're at time, so we should probably wrap up. So I just want to say thank you to Jesse, Emily, Jazuli, Sam, and Vinny, everybody in the background, and for all the students for joining. Hopefully you've learned something about process engineering today, and hopefully you're more interested in potentially a career in mining or at tech. We will be spamming you with a link to fill out a feedback survey. But the main reason is our goal is to provide future Campus Coffee sessions that are relevant to you, things that you want to learn. So if there's any particular topics or any particular guests you'd like us to bring forward for you to ask questions to, let us know, and we'll build that for you for the next term. All right. Oh, there's a link in the chat. Thank you, Vinny. Wonderful. Well done, everybody. Yeah, so Jesse, as Jesse mentioned, you know how to contact all of us, so feel free to ping us if you have questions. Otherwise, we'll see you at a future Campus Coffee.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.